Good evening, everyone. It's Randy Weir. Hope everyone's having a great day. Trying a little difference, add a little music to the opening. We'll see how that works when I play it back later. It's always fun trying new stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we have a guest here tonight, all the way up in Canada, and we're going to bring her up here now. And we have Jennifer Shaw, Jennifer, or JM Shaw, as you go on your books. Hi, Jennifer. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
All good here in Colorado. Enjoying some fairly warm weather. We haven't had any winter yet. How about in your neck of the woods?
Oh, we've already had snow. It's dropping below zero. We're covering our tomatoes and turning off our outdoor water.
Of course, zero for you because you do use
Celsius, yes.
Celsius, of course, right? So zero would be freezing. As United States, we're stubborn. We still have to use Fahrenheit for whatever reason,
Yeah.
pounds and inches and everything else.
Yep.
Anything else. But I'm happy to have you on the show tonight. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, all the important stuff that people need
Yeah.
to know.
So I've been a writer for as long as I can remember. I'm the oldest of five kids. I'm the only girl. I'm a lifelong dreamer, and I thought everybody dreamed the way I did, seeing the world in videos and just writing down what I see, but apparently not. So that's interesting. It was an interesting thing to learn from me. I'm a very what if thinker, and I'm always watching the world and thinking about possibilities to write.
Keeping the mind going there. So, and you have you have a family, and how have they inspired you to get into the being an author? Have they had any activity that has helped you there?
Yeah, well, probably not inspiring me to start writing because they weren't even my kids weren't even born, and I hadn't met my husband when I started writing. But certainly to keep writing, I have on occasion seen my kids emulating me by writing their own little stories and comic books and skits, and pretending to write and stuff. And it's been very cute. And I'm hoping that I'm leaving them a legacy.
So what was the first? Do you remember the first thing you ever wrote, and what it was about? And do you still have it?
I started writing poems,
Okay.
and I still have a lot of them. Gosh, I don't know if I could read them now because they were written on paper in scratchy child writing, and they're in a trunk in my garage, which probably hasn't kept them very preserved.
Little brown these days, a little worn. I
Yeah.
have some in my here as well. So what do you enjoy? What are your hobbies? What do you do to decompress dealing with all the stress in the world?
Oh gosh, I read, I write. It's one of my things. I play piano. If I'm stuck for ideas or I really need to just get out of my own chaos in my life, I will put my headphones on, click my playlist on Spotify, and go and walk and come back home 2 hours later. And during that walkabout, my mind is just going and running through a reel and a movie in my head, and I'm having all sorts of adventures. And I'll come home and I'll have no idea where I walked, but I feel a lot better.
So I saw you did some martial arts as well at one time. Are you still doing that? Active?
I can't do it so much now, just with family and stuff. But yes, I did that for quite a long while when I was a kid. I always say I had four brothers. I had to, keep them in line somehow.
And which of the martial arts did you study? Was there any in
I did
particular?
Shorinru karate.
Oh, really? So I don't think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's karate. It's just sort of
Basic karate, right? Yeah.
one of whichever teacher it's inspired it.
So you mentioned on your website too about experiences, all those experiences you've had, and I'll read this here: healthcare, psychology, martial arts, personal training. How did you incorporate that into your writing? How did you use that as well?
I mean, a lot of my characters I don't treat very well, and I tend to abuse them. So having some medical knowledge is, I guess, important. I also, I wasn't into the typical like I guess what they would call girl things when I was a kid. I did things like the airsoft, and I did a lot of hiking, biking, running. I used to watch action movies, and I abhorred wearing dresses and painting my nails. And I mean, I've mellowed out as sort as that goes when I get older, but I like that adventure, and I like to incorporate that into my stories. So I think that helps.
So you said you had four brothers,
I do. Four younger brothers.
four
Yes.
younger brothers, huh? Yeah. So I'm sure, yes, they pushed you a lot as well,
Yeah,
like
there were a
you
lot more
said.
boy toys around the house than there were girl toys when I was growing up. So I was
So
hoping for a daughter, but I ended up with two sons, so at least I knew I was getting into. So
yeah, I say I grew up with a brother, and it was just boys in the house, and now I'm the only male in the house. So we've got the daughter, and we have the both dogs are female. So yeah, so
they don't
actually,
count.
I kind of like it. It was different than what I was growing up with, so I kind of enjoyed
Yeah. Well, I got my own bedroom. That was the plus,
that.
Didn't share a
That's
bedroom with my brothers, so
they had to share, right?
they all had to share. I didn't. That was the only plus. So I mean, we did have one bathroom in our house, so that was a bit of a challenge, but you know.
So we were talking a little bit before the show, and talking about some of the diagnosis that you had later in life with autism and ADHD, and I think you even mentioned dyslexia. Tell us a little bit about that, and how you've had to manage that through your life, and being diagnosed so late in life.
Yeah, so I was mentioning some of the strategies that I came up with because when I was a kid, I wasn't diagnosed until 2019, so I was into my adult years. Um, but when I was a kid, there were things that I struggled with, like making eye contact was very difficult for me, but I forced myself to do it and come up with strategies and stuff for that. Communicating with other kids and talking to other people was really difficult, and I come up with strategies. I used to make notebooks of conversations, and I used it to develop my own script in order to talk to people just by watching so and so said this was a reply, this is what I must say when somebody says that. And then just for my not realizing at the time I had dyslexia because that's a recent diagnosis. I used to, like have my bookmark going down my page, going from line to line and helping me with that. I never had as much trouble with the reading. It was more the writing that I had an issue with. But I remember, the teacher came along and took my bookmark away and said, that's not how you read because it just wasn't recognized at that time. So I use my finger because you can't take that away. Right. So, and then I get my computer to read to me as well, because then it doesn't miss, it catches the words that I've missed. So I can it can kind of help me with that.
Yeah, it was just interesting hearing about being diagnosed so late in life with all that, and the struggles you had. Do you think it would have helped you if you had been diagnosed sooner in life to help you get through some of those struggles?
I think it might have been a little more, okay, I'm not on a different planet. My brain just works different. I think it would have been a little bit more accepting of my misunderstandings and not as critical of the fact that I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and trying. But I also think that I maybe wouldn't have spent as much time watching people and watching the world and trying really hard to figure things out. And I'm not sure that I would have dove into writing because writing was my outlet. It was my way of figuring out how the world works. And I don't know if I would have done that had I had the help when I was younger.
Well, and as an author, that is a good thing, that you're studying people and you're seeing things, and maybe getting inspiration from that. So yeah, I think that was a good thing for you, and you've turned that into stories as you've gone on, and that's how you dealt with it. I think that's great. So writing, who were authors? I'm assuming you, even though you had the reading issues, did you were able to concentrate and do it. What were authors that you enjoyed reading when you were younger and even today? Any in particular that really inspired you?
Yeah, nowadays I am, I've always been kind of a big fan of Stephen King. I read a lot of Dean Koontz. I'd recently discovered Brandon Sanderson, so I have a lot of reading to do. When I was growing up, during this time when I started writing, my mom was doing a university course and she was majoring in English, and we would drive out to her grandparents' house every weekend, and I got to sit in the front, but that's only because I could read her books. So I was 11 and 12 years old, and I was reading Thomas Hardy, Joseph Conrad, Fitzgerald, Bronte's, lots of Shakespeare. And so that was kind of, yeah, it wasn't necessarily that I liked them. I didn't dislike them. So I think that that kind of gave me a different perspective than other people, but I also like the fictions as well.
Yeah, that's great. So you do you find when you're writing, do you think you feel it's therapeutic for you that it helps you to write? Obviously, dealing with some of the issues that you've dealt with.
Absolutely. I always tell people it's like I started it because I needed that outlet. It turned into a hobby, then a passion, and now it's just cheaper than therapy. So it's definitely therapeutic. If I didn't write, I wouldn't sleep because my brain never stops. So
Yeah, so it's kind of in there, and you get it out of your brain, and then you're able to lay down and sleep.
absolutely. I mean, sometimes
Sometimes, yeah.
I can sleep when I can sleep after I'm dead. So, I'll just stay awake for now and just get these ideas out of my head and stuff, and then reap the benefits later. Oh wait, no, I can't. Sorry.
See, I tell that to some of my fans. They say, "I wish you could write faster." I says, "Well, if I didn't have to sleep, I could write
Yeah,
faster,
if you
but
have to sleep
I
eat
don't know that I
or
would be very good writing if I'm not kind of sleep deprived." So,
can you imagine how much time we would have in a
well,
day if we did
yeah,
not have to sleep or eat? We would have oodles of time. We would be able to write 10 novels a day. Maybe not 10 novels. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, and I've known some people who they sleep 3, 4 hours a day and they're just fine. If I don't get my 8 hours, I'm in big trouble sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
those people are just they're aliens dropped off on this planet. There's yeah, and I don't think so. I don't know. I know I've heard of them. I've met a few of them, but I'm just like I don't know how you do it. I wish.
yeah, I don't know either. And it would be nice to be able to do that sometimes when I write. And I'm kind of the same way with you. When I was writing my serial killer book, I had the
Mm,
chapters running through my head. I couldn't sleep. I had to get
yeah,
up and get the chapters out of my head, write them out, and then I was fine. I could lay back down and sleep till the
yeah.
next chapter hit my head, and then it was the same thing. So,
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have a notebook on my dresser beside my bed that if I'm tossing and turning because I've got an idea in my head and I'll sit up and I'll write it down really quick and close it and then I can go to sleep. Most of the time.
and when you write it down and you look at it the next day, does it make sense, or does sometimes it's a little jumbled and you're like, "What was I thinking?"
Usually it makes sense, especially if I'm writing it down while I'm mostly conscious. If I'm half conscious, then I can't really read it. So it's not really literate or logical in those situations. So, but at least I've done something. It's like giving gripe water to your kids when they're having colic. You think you're doing something, so it makes you feel better.
All right, so tell us a little about your books. You got a one series,
Yep.
and we've got a little picture there.
Yeah, so this is my first series, and I've just recently released the fourth book. And the arc of my series is there's our world, our time, there's a coexisting magical realm, but there's a veil that separates us. We can't see or cross this veil because we don't have magic, but these creatures that do can and have, and they've been the source of our fairy tales, monster stories, what have you. And then Callum Walker is my protagonist. He's a young man born with the ability to use magic. He doesn't know why, he's trying to make the most of it. He's able to cross that veil. He becomes embroiled in this magical realm, discovering this world and all the creatures therein. Adventures ensue, and we follow him through the series as he's trying to figure out who he is, where he belongs, because he's too magic for here, but too human for there, and master these abilities to survive.
So, where did this idea come from? Is this something you've been developing for a long time in your mind, or how was it?
It came to me as kind of an inspiration. I was watching a Netflix series called Merlin, and I'm like, oh, I have an idea. And it kind of percolated as a question of what if fairy tales were real, the monsters were flesh and blood, and what would that look like, and what if we didn't know it, and then I kind of envisioned my main character as being a young modern day Merlin before he became Merlin the magician. I grew up, really intrigued by the Arthurian Merlin tales and Knights of the Round Table and stuff, which is why my magical realm is very medieval because, well, they have magic, they don't need technology. So,
And how long did it take you to get the first book? And did you envision it being 4 or 5 books, 4 books long?
I did not, and it's going to be more because I'm working on my fifth. I wrote the rough draft for that, and as you know, the rough drafts take less time to write than editing. My rough draft took me 2 months, and then I was on a roll, and I wrote my second rough draft, my second book's rough draft, in about 2.5 weeks. And but usually somewhere between 2 and 4 months to write a rough draft for each book, but then it can take at least 3 times that for editing, or somewhere around there. Can take a long time for editing and beta reading and then publishing.
I find that pretty impressive that you can write that because I looked and these look to be pretty big books, aren't they? There's a lot of words. How many words are each of the books?
It's around 110, 120,000 per book.
That's still pretty
I
good if
write
you can write
really
that within a few
fast.
weeks. At least that first draft, that's pretty fast.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't very good. I had to go through it a few times to revise it. And I was like, oh, I missed a whole section there. And wow, how many times can I say sit up? Got to kind of reword that a little.
Yeah. Well, and when you sit down and write, are you just writing, or do you have it outlined in advance? How does that work for you?
So I started out as a pantser. I knew where to begin, I knew where to end, and I knew approximately what needed to happen in the middle to shift towards that ending. But I let the rest fill in on its own. I'm doing a lot more plotting now because I'm plotting it by, like what are the major events in each chapter that I want to cover. And I'll write out a plot with like, okay, chapter 1, I want to talk about this. Chapter 2, I want to talk about this. And it actually feels like when I'm going through, I'm writing the story. And then I can shift things around and stuff like that so that when I'm actually writing it, I keep things in online. I think that as I go through the series, there's a lot of things that I presented in the earlier books that I need to keep track of. So plotting is become more necessary.
Well, you're creating all different worlds, obviously, and different creatures and races, whatever. I mean, all a fantasy. I always thought, for me, a fantasy book would be extremely difficult for me to write because there's so much you're building in there. And you have I mean, I think you have a real world in there, and he crosses over. It sounds like, but it sounds like it's mostly takes place in there. So keeping track of all of that and making sure it's carries over properly into all the books, I'm sure, is a challenge.
Yeah, and I mean like details of how like names and places and how old this character is, or notable dates and destinations, and even like cardinal directions and stuff. So yeah, it's I have most of it's in my head, but I have to start plotting it now so that I keep track of things. I know where to find the information if I don't, but it's just easier if I have a timeline.
Well, and if you make a mistake, your fans will usually find it, right, and let you know
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
it. They go, wait a minute, he was this and this, but he's that and that one. What? Wait a minute, what? Well, in your
yes.
world, you can say, well, it was a magical thing, right?
Yeah, but then I still have to explain why and how, and have it's got to be a valid plot point. So I can't just like change the character's eyes and not have a good reason for it or explain why. Yeah.
So the latest book is give us the titles of all 4 books. We can't quite see it on the picture there,
Yeah.
but
So the first one is The Ascension. The second one is The Convergence. The third one is The Fractured Veil. And the fourth one is Forsaken Souls. And I have dual meaning for every single title that I've used.
okay. And can you tell us the title? What you think the title of the 5th one's going to be?
I haven't settled on that
You still,
yet. If
still
I give
it's
you anything,
always
it may, yeah.
sometimes the title changes in the middle of the book. I know my latest one I'm working on. I've had like 3 or 4 different titles. I think I finally settled on it as I've come to the end. But yeah, it
Yeah.
can
I
it
think it
can
depends.
happen. And how many more
Exactly.
books do you foresee writing in the series? Do you think there's going to be more after number 5?
Yeah, I'm aiming for between 6 and 9. But I keep coming up with ideas, so I'm going to have to cap it at some point. But I'm also working on a side project as well as I'm writing my fifth book.
And what is a side project is also in the fantasy type world as well?
No, it's a dystopian Robin Hood meets Romeo Juliet with hints of Hunger Games.
What? That's different. What genre would that fit into?
I think it would be like a young adult
Young
dystopian.
adult. Yeah,
Yeah, the only things I don't read or write, I mean, mostly write. I don't write history because I get bored really easy, so I fall asleep. I don't write mystery just because I can never figure out who done it, or I figure it out in the beginning and then it's just boring, and I don't know where to go from there. Or it's harder for me to do that. Some people can do mystery, I can't. And I write elements of romance into my books, but I don't write any spicy romance.
right. And so how long? So are the books usually come out like once a year? How are you spreading them out in the series?
Yeah. So my first book came out 2021, and then the next year my second book, and then the year after that was my third book, and then there was a gap of time, about 18 months, I think, or somewhere around there. My fourth book didn't come out until um, when was it that my fourth book came out? It was this summer, 2025.
Yeah, it looked
So
like it was June or something like that.
yeah,
I think I
June
saw.
1st, I think. I'm thinking it was June 1st. Yeah. So my fourth book came out there, and I'm working on my fifth book, but I'm not sure that it'll be out. The earliest it would be out would be the end of next year, but it's more likely to be the following year.
So are you traditionally published, or are you self-published, or how do you sit in the published world?
Yeah, I'm indie published.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you kind of handle everything mostly yourself then?
Yeah, I've got a website, I've got social media, I print my books off of Amazon, I do book signings, book events. I started working with a publicist last year, who's helped me to kind of become a little bit more known. So and it's a huge learning curve. I think one of the first things I did is I don't know what the word marketing really means, and it was a terrifying word. So I changed it and I said, I'm not going to say marketing. I'm going to say showing the world I exist. And then it puts me in a better mindset, you know?
And do you do actual signings and go to bookstores or events or craft fairs, or how do you get out there in the world?
Absolutely. I've gone to, I had a book signing last weekend. I've got another one coming up this weekend. I was a vendor at an RPG-a-thon, which is a fantasy gaming event. What was really fun. And I've done a couple of talks to one was my grade 5 class. And then I had a couple other teachers that asked me, hey, can you come back and talk to our class too? So I did. So that was really fun. I love that. And then their library has invited me to, the local library has invited a lot of local authors to come in and talk about their books and the writing process and stuff too. So that's always fun.
So do you feel like, your fantasy books, you said that there isn't really a lot of, I mean, there's a little bit of romance and stuff, but
Yeah.
do you think they appeal to young adults and adults and even,
Oh,
age,
absolutely.
age range?
Yeah, like I tell people, like, they are geared towards like young adult, new adults, like teens and 20s. But I've had everybody from my 8-year-old son up to octogenarian reading my books. All that means is that there's a couple swear words here and there. There's lots of action. There are hints of romance. There's no sex scenes, and a
Right.
lot of people they're okay with that. I mean, I get bored, so I put a lot of action into my books.
Well, and yeah, I'm sure there is a lot of action in there. Um, so I had a question there and I just lost it for myself. And so, places you visit, travel, any of those things that you have they helped inspire you? I mean, obviously you're creating a fantasy world, so maybe not, but
I don't get a lot of opportunities to travel. I've got two very busy young boys. I mean, I grew up we had 77 acres of trees just trees out in the middle of nowhere. So I spent a lot of time in nature, and I think that was a lot of inspiration right there. But I don't have to look that far. I just let myself my mind wander. Every now and then, if I do need some inspiration, I will look at I'll find a creative picture and stuff and say, okay, well, I could modify that in my brain and look at it from different angles and stuff. But I don't get a chance to travel much.
So, are there any characters that you write in your books that are based on real people?
Gosh, I hope not. Um, it's really hard though to write a character without putting aspects of your personality into them. So I guess you could say that a lot of my characters either have aspects of me or aspects of people that I know, but not intentionally. I had somebody ask me, because I have autism, do I write an autistic character? I was like, no, not intentionally. But there is one character that if anybody is going to be autistic in my book, that he would fit into that category. He's like the Spock sci-fi. He's like, yeah, he's very stoic and logical and thinking about things pragmatically and just to the point. Yeah, I mean, he's also an elf too, so.
So, how do you think your writing has changed through the years? Do you feel like how has it evolved? Obviously, your writing process has changed some, you said.
Yeah, it's been a huge learning curve. I mean, I've been writing now for over 35 years, since I my mom bought me a typewriter because I'm that old. But I was never really interested in English. I was more of a math science geek. So I've learned a lot over the years about, like the proper use of commas, dangling participles, proper sentence structure, how to make my characters more descriptive, adding emotion. And it's just been like, I'm improving every single time I write. And, like they say, practice makes perfect. And I'm learning something new. And I'm working with editors who will teach me.
Yeah, it's always interesting getting back at least for me, when I get it back from my editor, and I'm thinking, oh, this shouldn't be too bad, right? I think I've got this book really well, and then it comes back and I see all this red.
Oh, I know. It's so distressing. Yeah. And then you get to a few pages and you're like, wait, there's no red on here. Did you skip these?
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow, I got a couple pages here. Did she miss something? What did words screw up or what? Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I always I've tried to look at it as, and you know what I mean? Like the way they can take like one or two words out of a sentence and completely change it, or just switch two words around. Or, I don't know how they do that. It's just magic. Like, teach me your magic. I can't imagine how they see things. It's, yeah, I want to learn. I want to learn to be just like that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you edit your own work. I mean, you go through and you change, and the read aloud helps, because I use that a lot these days, because there's things you miss just because when you're reading, you read it as you wrote it, not necessarily how it was written on the
Yes.
page, or at least you imagined it and stuff. But
Yes.
the amount of mistakes, and that right, and I'm the same way. I sit down and I just start writing. I just start typing, and then I come back to it later and I go, gee, I have no idea what word did I type there, just because I type faster than my brain works sometimes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but she'll give a lot of the this doesn't move the story along. You already
Mhm.
said this earlier. You're repeating yourself. Those common things that you don't
And I mean,
see.
yeah. I find that my editor goes through my stuff and then cleans it up, and you can actually see it. Then I go through it again and I'm like, oh, I can see that. I can take that out. And why did I put that in? And then I have to talk to her again and say, okay, I thought about deleting this and I thought about doing this. And she's like, why am I even working? Why am I even doing anything? I said, but I can't see it until you clean it up.
Do do you target a certain word count when you're writing your books, or is it just whatever it is whatever it is?
Yeah. however long it takes the story to get out. I mean, some of my chapters are quite long, and I have been told that I need to whittle those down or divide them into two or put some breaks in them and stuff. But yeah, the length of the book, I'm not counting a certain number. I'm just like, when the story is done, I will know, and then it'll be done. And if that's, over 120,000 words, or if it's 200,000, hopefully it's not 200,000 words, then, so be it. But yeah, I kind of try to whittle the words down when I'm in the editing and keep them within a certain range.
And some fantasy books can be quite long. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
sure there are shorter ones too, but I don't think length is a big factor. I write in the thriller genre, and some of the big authors, they go 500 pages, no problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And some of yours as well. So, so you only have the one series. I usually ask, do you have any crossover between series? But you only have the one series, so that doesn't work. So, is there a book you want to write that you haven't written yet? Something that's kind of been percolating. I know you've been writing for a long time. Maybe something sitting on a back shelf somewhere that goes, "Well, maybe different genre."
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm doing I'm writing this dystopian one that's been in my brain for a long time, but there's another one beyond that that I'm thinking about, and it's kind of a horror thriller future sci-fi type thing. It's like a War of the Worlds, Back to the Future, Body Snatchers combo. And that one I'd really like to write, but I can't sort out the ending of it yet. So I got too many things going on. I need to clear those first before I can get to that.
So, is it all kept up here, or do you have you have a little notebook that you kind of write some of those ideas down into?
I started to write some down because, yeah, my brain gets so full, it's going to start to forget things. So, especially as I get older. So, yeah, I started writing them down in little notebooks and stuff. And,
So, I always ask this of everyone on the show. Bringing life to characters is the name of the show. So, what is it you are looking for when you're creating those characters that get them to pop off the page? And then obviously, in the fantasy world, your characters can be all different types of creatures, not just necessarily human. So,
I like, if I feel the emotions that my characters are in, and I can write that emotion into my characters, I feel that they become more relatable. Uh, I know that, just because a character is an elf, I do also try to, they also have, I'm thinking about their motivations, their religion, their society, their political system. How did they grow up? And I'm trying to think about all these aspects and stuff and write it in there. But that emotional point is very important in my mind.
So, how do you keep track of all of that when you're doing those characters? I know you talked about that you kind of switched to Scrivenger. Are you using, because they have a character sketch function within there where you can do your characters and you can give them all their different traits and stuff. Are you using something like that to keep track of all of that as well?
Yes, I have started to. A lot of them are still just rattling around in my brain. I'm starting to write them down a little bit, but there's a lot of characters and there's a lot of details. So my editor has helped too because she's written out of like a timeline thing and different characters and where they show up in the different books and where they lived and any other important details that I've written. So that's helpful as well. But I don't necessarily know all their details in my brain. I have to look back and find them, but I know who they are and why they are. And that's what I hold in my brain.
And how do you come up with the names of all your characters, all these different characters? Throwing a bunch of letters together, or how are you coming up with them?
Sometimes they just come to me.
Yeah,
But I do have a website that I use. It's just fantasynamegenerator.com. And I'll just go in and be like, okay, I need a male elf name. And it'll give me some options. And then sometimes I'll use those or I'll just modify it. Or I've done a lot of searching for baby names, but those are more human than,
right.
yeah. But sometimes the names come to me and I don't have to think that hard. And other times I'm like, oh, I need a name that I can spell correctly and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, because I always struggle sometimes with names, and just human names. And there's a lot of websites and you can put in obviously
Yeah.
and come up with a name for that and there and all that. But yeah, for fantasy type characters, I would think that could be challenging at time to try to keep it unique. Uh, I'm assuming they have their own language or as well. Are you creating that too, or they basically just speak English, or it gets translated in your protagonist's head when he talks to them?
No, there's a common language and there's a history there because the realm existed a long time before humans, and the veil was not always there. So their language that they had at the time was taught to the early humans. But then when the veil was erected, then they were kind of separated. So humans developed their own, but it's still similar enough. And the beings of the realm have still been able to see the humans as they've evolved. The humans can't see them.
So, what advice do you give to anyone who wants to be an author? You've obviously been at this for a long time, 4 books, but there was a process for you. So, do you have any advice for anyone who wants to get into this crazy world?
Yeah, I think just keeping in mind that it's a marathon, it's not a race. If you're looking for a quick success, then you're looking in the wrong direction. As long as you keep moving forward and you keep writing the story that's in your heart and you're doing it for yourself, then you're going to make it to a finish line. It may not be the one you're expecting, but it'll be a finish line. If you stop before you get to that, you'll never finish.
Yes, it's definitely a long road. Some people are lucky and bang, they get published just like that, but that's such a rarity at all. So you mentioned marketing earlier. So I usually like to ask any tips you've learned through the years to help marketing. Obviously, you have a publicist now to try to help you, but lot of trial and error. How did it go for you when you were first trying to get that first book out there?
I had a lot of support on that. There's a lot of people in the neighborhood. I live in a smaller town, so a lot of people knew me, and there was a lot of people saying, like, "Hey, good job. This was good. I like this. When's your next book coming out?" And I still get that. It's a huge learning curve. I'm not a marketer, like I said, and I don't know what it really means, but I kind of tried to look at it from a different angle. I have my social media, I have my website, I do my book signings, which have been so much fun, but terrifying at the same time. And I'd say the best advice I can give people is just, you know, um, be yourself, be genuine. If you pretend to be somebody forever, then you forget who you are. And then people will also eventually see the real you. So don't be somebody else, be yourself.
Yeah, it's tough marketing, and there's a lot of, and of course, and I've been seeing a lot of it on Facebook too, through your website. There's a lot of junk emails getting sent to authors right now. Oh, I've got 200 book readers who will read your book, and
Oh, yeah.
you'll give you all kinds of reviews, and oh,
Yeah.
your book needs to be put to this and a hat to that, and and it's just it's
I like to mess with them sometimes, and then, but there's sometimes they're very pushy, and I'm just like, no, thanks, no, no. But
I
I
get
do
3
like
or
to.
4 a day, and I look at them, and after a while, and it's like, wow, these are all like worded almost exactly the same. And I'm thinking, is AI involved here? And
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's like the same script. It's like, oh yeah, I saw this script 2 days ago. Sorry,
yeah,
and the names are just like sometimes the names are unique, but most of the time they're the same names. It's like John Smith or whatever, some basic, easy to know, easy to remember names and stuff like that. Or they'll have profiles on Instagram or Facebook, and there's like, 4 pictures. And I mean, there was one person who was showing pictures of themselves as, I said, oh, you were on Grey's Anatomy, eh? You were was it Dr. McSteamy? Because that was the pictures they were using. I was like, you couldn't be more obvious, right?
yeah. I mean, I don't think they realize it's like when you get so many all at once, and they're all so much the same, you're just like,
Yeah.
this is a scam or something, just to get money out of you. I actually had a comment tonight on the show of somebody trying to sell a book trailer to you. So
Mm.
I didn't throw that up on the screen. So
I
they
probably
even hit me during the show sometimes. So
Mhm. Yeah, no, I get several, and not just from emails. I get them through my messages and stuff. There's a lot of them that will, spam me through messaging, Instagram and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then you don't answer, or you just, throw it away, and then you'll get another one. It's like, oh, I'm just following up. No, no, I ignored you, or they'll make another account, and yeah, you get spammed every day.
Yeah, good old. Yeah, I use the block feature a lot of times too on some of the stuff on Facebook when they very persistent. So
Yes.
how much time do you try to spend on social media during the day, and balance that with your writing?
I just recently learned how to schedule posts, so I'm still learning, and trying to figure it all out because, like, I'm I don't know much about it, so I'm just trying to show people me and my writing process and all that kind of stuff, as getting advice and trying to post at least 4 days a week if I can, just to show people updates and stuff too. Yeah,
And are you a diligent writer? Do you try to write every day?
absolutely. If I'm not writing, I'm thinking about writing, and I will easily write 1,000 words a day. More if my family would let me, but my kids need to eat and snuggle, and there's
Yeah.
no snooze buttons on them. I can't mute them, so
Well, and before I got married, I wrote a lot, and then when I got married and had a kid, I stopped writing, and as soon as my daughter got old enough, then I started writing again. So, but yes, those family challenges. Do you have a full time job as well to keep you busy?
No, I'm at home. I retired from. I was working as an X-ray tech, and then I retired from that after my second son was born, and that was around the time that I was learning that both of my boys have autism and ADHD. So I wanted to be home for them, because they're both special needs. So
Yeah.
and I ended up homeschooling them for a couple years, and then they just had their first full year of school because they were asking to go because I can't make them friends. And then yeah, now they're home again because our teachers are on strike, and so it's just a
Oh,
sad time right now.
yeah, that's too
Very
bad.
busy time.
And
Yeah.
how old are
So,
they?
but they are the youngest is 9. My oldest just turned 11. But they're very busy. They're very loud, and they cannot play independently or take care of themselves in any way, shape, or form. So it's constantly, I'll write a couple words and, Mom, I need a snack. Okay, go get a snack. Write a couple words. Mom, he's stealing my air. Okay, fine. It goes, you got enough air. Yeah, stealing the air. I thought that was the low point of my life when they were fighting over air. But then they started fighting over who gets to fart on Mom, and I'm like, can we not? Sorry, I digress.
The thrill of parenthood, right? We love it, even when it frustrates us sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then they say, "I love you," and you forget all the bad things.
All right, so I think we've covered most of my questions here tonight. I will say you've got some, and I pulled this off of your website. So you've got some signings coming up. I'm gonna throw those up on the screen. So so you got the 25th and 26th. So this is for your new book, or even all your
Sure.
books, I'm
All
assuming.
my books, I bring them along, and they have them in the stores that I'm going to, so
So these are bookstores that you're going to.
yeah, this is like the Barnes& and Noble of Canada. It's Indigo and Chapters across Canada. That's the big bookstores that we have.
And are you on KDP, right? Kindle Direct
I
Publishing, or?
Yeah, my books are available through links on my website, through Amazon as a print. They're all on Kindle. My first 2 books are on Kobo. My others will be eventually. And I think there's like a ebook version there's a Barnes and Noble. What is that? Nook, I think.
Yes, Nook
There's a
is
link
there.
to that.
If they
Their
still
first,
put out a Nook version, I mean, it's usually EPUB. I think everybody's EPUB these
yeah,
days, but
yeah. And so there's the links to that as well.
yeah, that's interesting because bookstores here in the United States do not like Amazon. So some bookstores,
Mhm.
especially independent ones, won't bring in Amazon books. I don't
Yeah.
know maybe you run into that in Canada or not, but it sounds like maybe they're a little more flexible there.
Well, I bring in my own stock,
Yeah.
and then I consign them at the stores. And I started with my book in one store, and then I did book signings across Alberta, which is the province I live in. And they would say, "Hey, can you leave some for our shelf too?" So now my books are in over 10 stores
Huh.
across Alberta. And I'm meeting people who are reaching out to me from across Canada and saying, "Hey, when's your next book coming out?" So it's slowly but surely, and I'm happy. So
Have you ventured into the United States to do any type of book events or
I haven't looked at the logistics of that yet, but I'm not opposed to that. I don't know how that would look or how that would go, and I'm not sure about traveling this year, and, or next year. It might be a few years from now.
so BoucherCon is going to be in Calgary in October of next year. Have you thought about possibly trying to go to that? That's a big author event.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I'm also looking at Calgary has a Comic Con Expo, as well as Edmonton, and I'm intrigued and looking into that as well. It's it's pricey for a table for one author. I think it's something like $1,300 Canadian. So I'm looking to see if I can split costs with another author that I know of, and she said that she would be interested. So we'll see.
And your books would probably do really well at Comic Cons. Would you dress up as any of your characters?
Sure. Well, maybe not my characters, but I dress up. It's fun. Who doesn't want to go to Comic Con and dress up? That would be awesome. You can be whatever you want. That's why I like the fantasy genre, is because it's very flexible. You can create whatever you want and you're not limited. And then you can bring in other aspects of other genres. You're not, restricted.
Yeah, so I've done a couple of Comic Cons here, and I did okay. I mean, my books don't really translate into as much into the being murder mystery and thrillers and stuff, but I just loved it because I got to see everybody in costumes, take pictures of them. They
Yeah.
come by the table, and it's like, "Can I take your picture?" And all that, and they'd stop and
Yeah.
talk, and then maybe they'd look at your books and stuff. But it's always a great time. But the tables can be quite pricey
Yes.
now for
Oh, absolutely.
the PopCon, whatever they're calling it this year. They keep changing it because they've gotten so commercial,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and stuff. And they used to have tables that weren't bad. They'd be like 3 days and to like $250 just for kind of independent type authors. But I think
Yeah.
they're now going away from that because they know they can sell them
Yeah.
for that large amount. So that would be good that you get a chance to share and
Yeah.
with the
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm sure
Oh,
you would do very well. So all right,
yeah.
so I know we've got your website here. I'm going to throw that up and social media
Mhm.
and looks like you have a newsletter as well. I see people.
Yeah, you can sign up for a newsletter. I don't post out email newsletters very often unless something important or amazing is happening, like a new book being released. So I will post one when it gets closer to my fifth book being released, or updates on my dystopian novel when it gets closer to being finished as well.
And then you've got your Facebook page, and that's an author page group, I'm assuming,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then Instagram as well,
yep,
and then those are the best ways for people to get a hold of you. And then you said your books are available under all, Amazon and
yeah.
all the
Through links, it's easiest to find them through my website, jmshawauthor.com. There's links. You can read about my books. They've got the synopsis there. You can read the description, and then there's links to find them on Amazon or Kobo or Barnes Noble. I think they're all on Kindle Unlimited as well.
if they're Kindle Unlimited, they usually can't be on another platform. So, but
Okay, maybe they're not. I
yeah,
know there is a certain time frame, but I don't know exactly how that works. So
unless it's different in Canada. So,
yeah,
which
I don't, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
if you're a big shot author, like a lot of the
Mhm.
big publishing houses, they can be on multiple platforms and be on Kindle Unlimited. But like J.K. Rowling,
Yeah.
a lot of her books are, but us little guys, we have to only sell on Amazon if we want to be on Kindle Unlimited, which it's nice. I don't make a lot of on Kindle Unlimited, but I never sold on many other platforms as well
Yeah.
anyway. So Amazon is such the beast when it comes to books, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, like, well, I spend a lot of time surfing Amazon just for my own, shopping because I don't like to go out a lot. I'd rather stay home with my coffee in one hand and my computer on my lap and not face the world, but live in my own.
Yes, so it is. Well, I think unless there's something else you want to cover, I think I've asked all my questions and the ones that I can think of. Anything else you'd like to say or talk about that we didn't cover?
No, I think we covered everything. I think that's good.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. Maybe if you make it to Boucher, we're planning on going to BoucherCon in Calgary next year. It's in October,
Okay.
which we'll see what the weather's going to be like. But I live in Colorado, so we're used to fluctuations in weather. So October here could be snowy or cold,
Yeah.
and I guess that can be true in Calgary as well.
Yeah. Well, if you don't like it, you just wait 5 minutes and it'll be changing to something else.
That's right.
I've seen 6 feet of snow and minus 20 one morning, and the next morning it's all melted and it's 10 degrees above zero.
So are you fairly far north in Canada? Because you said you'd already had some snow this year.
No, we just had no. We're near Calgary,
Oh,
just
okay.
outside of Calgary,
I see.
and it's just because of the Rockies. We get a lot of Chinooks in the periodically, and they call them. I think that the word for it, they used to call them translated to snow eaters. So it's a warm, dry wind that blows in. So we'll get a dump of snow, and some people will shovel their driveway, and I'll be like looking at the weather. No, we're gonna get a Chinook. It'll all be gone in a couple days. So just let nature shovel it for me because it'll
That's right.
blow in, and we'll have like a 30-degree temperature raise, and it makes a lot of black ice though. So
Well, it sounds similar to here what we get here in Colorado sometimes. The
yeah,
snow doesn't always stick around for a long period of time. At least
yeah,
here
especially
in
this.
Denver.
Yeah.
Mountain, it's there usually through the
Oh
whole
yeah,
week.
I can see the Rockies from where we live, and they're covered. They're white. They're beautiful, but yeah, you can see it creeping down the mountains from where I used to live in British Columbia, and there was a mountain view right from my front window, and we could see the snow, creeping down the mountain every night. Would be a little bit more, and then wake up one morning, the mountain's all full, and we got snow in our yards. So it was beautiful.
Well, hopefully, if you get a chance, you could go to BoucherCon, and
Yeah,
it
I'll
sounds
check
like
it
it
out.
wouldn't be that big of a trip for you. For us, it'll be a little more,
Yeah.
but it is a great event. And there's usually a lot of great authors that go to it, and
Hmm.
I went to one in Nashville 2 years ago, and got to meet a lot of well-known authors, and several of them wanted to be on the podcast. So that why
Nice.
I like that as well. But maybe we'll get a chance to connect. I know Mickey and I have talked about your publicist about trying to. He will probably go as well and get a chance to meet him in person since I've not met him.
Yeah. I only met him about a month ago.
Yeah,
So for the
even
first
though
time.
he's not really that far away, right? Because he
Not far
lives in that
away,
area,
no, like half a province. So
right? Yeah. Yes, half a province. So.
I think
Okay,
it's about
great.
an hour drive, something like that. I don't know.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate you being on the show. Look forward to hopefully talking to you down the road. Good luck with your books and your signings. I hope you get lots of sales and get that next book out when it's ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I will. I'm excited because I mean, who doesn't want to talk about their passion? And I like to live in my stories, so I'm going to be writing to the day I die. So thank you so much, though, for having me on the show.
Yeah, appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. Appreciate you being listening, watching tonight, or watching the recording later. And we will see you next Monday. I'm going to be at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We're going to have Bjorn Leeson, I believe I've pronounced his last name. Hopefully, I like to mess up last names a lot and get myself in trouble. But he'll be on, and we'll talk about his books. And then I've got lots of other exciting authors already scheduled to the end of December. So looking forward to more shows in the future. But this is episode 50, and so onward and upward to the next 50. Thanks again, and we will see you next Monday.